Hello everyone, Mason here. How you doing? It's book review time. Today I'm talking about The Dinner Guest by B.P. Walters, which was published on the 1st of April 2021. Get ready for this one because I've got opinions, strong ones. Let me just start off by saying, if you're watching this and you enjoyed The Dinner Guest, I'm genuinely happy for you. Reading and reviews are subjective. I am not here to tell you that you're objectively wrong for enjoying something. In fact, I've read a lot of the Goodreads reviews for The Dinner Guest, and I seem to be in the minority not liking it. All I can really do is be honest, give my opinion, and then you're free to either disagree, agree, or agree to disagree with me, and the comment section is there for you to tell me either way. I was actually excited to read The Dinner Guest. I pre-ordered it, which, to be honest, I kind of regret doing now. My first issue is with the title and description. They're misleading. They're misleading to the point of lies, if I'm being honest, and the impression that I got from the description was better than what I actually ended up reading. So let me try to tell you what The Dinner Guest is about in a more honest way. Charlie and Matthew are married. They live a comfortable, privileged life in the insulated bubble world of wealthy, upper-class London. I'm not talking well off here, guys. Charlie and Matthew are part of the elite. I'm talking garden parties with former prime ministers, frequently name-dropping lords and ladies. I'm talking one of them was raised in a castle-type wealth. They're raising Titus, Matthew's 14-year-old adopted son. One day, whilst out shopping, perusing the shelves of Waterstones, Charlie and Matthew bump into Rachel, who's not really from their world. She recently moved to London from Bradford and doesn't know anybody. They take Rachel under their wing, and she quickly becomes a big part of their lives. Maybe too quickly, because this isn't an accident. There's nothing chance about their encounter. Rachel has ulterior motives. Motives that will shatter the comfortable life that Charlie, Matthew and Titus have been enjoying. One of them is going to die. Ugh, see, now I feel guilty because I've done what the description does in a way and made this story sound so much more interesting than it actually is. Let's talk about the title. The Dinner Guest is not the right title for this book. The dinner that it suggests is going to happen, that the book will hinge upon, is such a small part of the story that I honestly feel it should have been called something else. The original description is also incredibly misleading to the point of being an outright lie. It tells you things are going to happen one way and they don't happen that way at all. Not in a suspenseful, enjoyable way, in a well, I didn't get what I was promised kind of way. I walked into The Dinner Guest expecting a thrilling murder mystery, and what I actually got was a painfully slow marital drama that centres around unlikable characters that I couldn't relate to in the slightest, where nothing happens for the first 2/3 of the book. I sat down on the third day of reading this 10-hour book, with 2 hours and 49 minutes left. At this point I felt like nothing important or enjoyable had happened, and realised that the author was going to sledgehammer the exciting parts of this plot into the last third, but by this point I was so fed up of the characters and so bored of what was going on that I was just annoyed by this fact. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that marital drama in general isn't interesting, but this one wasn't. Maybe if there'd been one likeable character, someone to connect to relate to, I might have enjoyed it more, but there wasn't. Everybody in this story is awful. They're all snobby, self-centered, self-righteous, and I couldn't get behind any of them. You know, the more I think about this book, the more I dislike it. I've been sitting trying to think of something that I liked about it, something that redeems it even slightly, but there isn't anything. I just don't feel like anything worked for me at all. We bounce back and forth between two timelines. The first is the year leading up to the murder, and the second are the days immediately afterwards. We're told straight away who dies. In fact, the description tells you who dies, and we're also told straight away that despite the fact that she has all these murderous intentions, Rachel isn't the killer. This would be fine if The Dinner Guest was the sort of book that had a massive cast of characters who all have motive and you kept guessing constantly, but it's not. There are so few characters that it's easy to work out who the killer is and why they did it long before the reveal. In fact, one of the first sentences of the story gives the game away. One of the things that I absolutely hated about The Dinner Guest is the insistent implications. The author implies that things are going to happen a certain way so heavily and so often that it becomes plainly obvious that things are not going to happen that way. There's really only one alternative explanation, and I hate this sort of thing when an author tries so hard to lead you down one path in order to sucker punch you later that it becomes plainly obvious where the twist is going to come and it ends up having no impact. In my opinion, it would have been so much better to take the chapters that are set after the murder and either get rid of them or have them take place after the murder. There would have been so much more suspense that way, because we'd have spent the entire time knowing that Rachel wanted somebody dead, but not necessarily knowing who. The reasons behind Rachel's motivations are kept mysterious for a large portion of the book. We really don't find out anything until that last third, but because I knew that she didn't go through with it, I didn't care why she wanted to do it in the first place. There are certain things about The Dinner Guest that made no sense to me whatsoever, even once I'd read the whole thing. In fact, certain things made even less sense once I'd finished. There's a certain scene that involves a hotel room, and considering the information that we get later on, it makes no sense to me why things happen the way they do in that scene. Then there's the fact that the two narrators are extremely vague about certain events that take place until it's time for the truth to be revealed. They're not telling the story to anyone, they're just thinking about things, and it made no sense to me why they were being so vague. There's a crucial bit of information that's revealed later on, and I had a massive problem with how this information was obtained. It was so far-fetched and coincidental that I didn't believe at all that it would happen that way. There's quite a large section where a character is telling a story. It's the best part of the book. It explains a lot and offers some emotional weight. But then, right at the end, there's a conversation between two characters where we're told that that story is not true and we're offered an alternative. We never end up finding out which version of the story is true. And I understand that that might work for some people because they don't like having all the answers. They like a juicy thread left dangling that they can think about afterwards, but it didn't feel that way to me. I felt like I'd had my time wasted and I felt frustrated. Then right at the end, when it seems like it's over, when I was hoping that it was over, there's a tacked on epilogue that follows a character that wasn't even a part of the story, and there's one final twist that I hated and it left me with a bitter taste in my mouth, if I'm honest. Honestly, it's just a shame about this book. I really wanted to like it, but it just didn't work for me. It was a thriller that I didn't find thrilling, a mystery that I didn't find mysterious. I knew what was going to happen and why it was going to happen a long time before I was supposed to. I didn't enjoy the ride or the destination, and there wasn't any characters that I liked even slightly. One of the more interesting elements of this story was Charlie and Matthew and their interactions with Titus. I actually think that I would have enjoyed this story more if you removed the murder and it was just about two men raising their teenage son as he goes through that awkward transition from boy to young man. I wish I'd enjoyed it. I wish that I was sat here now telling you how much I loved it, but I didn't. To be honest, I hated it, and that's a new experience for me. I might not have given The Bone Maker the most positive review, but I would read that book 100 times over before I'd go back to The Dinner Guest. I struggled with myself quite a lot coming into this review. I didn't know whether to record it or not, if I'm being honest, because the last thing that I want is to come across as rude or obnoxious. I even considered leaving it and just recording a roundup video later in the year where I talk about all the books that I read but didn't enjoy. I just couldn't do that. I want this channel to be a place where you can come and know that I'm going to give you my honest opinion, whether it's positive or negative, popular or not, or even if it seems a bit harsh. So I did. Here we are, and I've told you what I thought of The Dinner Guest. If you disagree with me and you liked it, I'm genuinely happy for you. I wish I did, because then I wouldn't have wasted 10 hours. If you enjoyed today's review, make sure you take the like button for a jolly good spot of tea and toast, and say hello in the comments section where we can have chit chat. Subscribing will make sure that you never miss one of my reviews in future. As always, thanks ever so much for spending time with me today, guys. The link to my Twitter is in the description. Until next time, take care. For now I'm off, and you should have a good one!